The Galactic Commerce Station, called Verdant Crossing, was one of the busiest places in the known universe. Ships came and went every hour. Cargo moved through its massive hallways like blood through veins. Thousands of different species walked its corridors, each one going about their business without paying much attention to anyone else. Ethan Cole had been working there for exactly 3 weeks, and in that time, he had learned one very important lesson. Humans were not special. In fact, most species barely noticed them at all. He was 22 years old, fresh from Earth and full of dreams about exploring the galaxy. What he got instead was a job scanning boxes in a forgotten corner of the station. His supervisor, a 4-armed creature named Grodd, had given him very clear instructions on his first day. Scan everything, log it, move on. Do not touch anything strange. Do not talk to anyone. Do not cause problems. Ethan had nodded and done exactly that. Every day, he walked into Sector 7 Gray, which was basically the place where the station threw everything it wanted to forget about. Damaged goods, misfiled shipments, broken equipment. It all ended up here, stacked in towers that reached toward the distant ceiling. Nobody came to Sector 7 Gray. Nobody cared about it. That was probably why Ethan liked it. There was something peaceful about being forgotten. No pressure, no expectations. Just him and his scanner and endless rows of dusty containers. On the 3rd day of his 3rd week, something changed. He was walking between 2 tall stacks of cargo when he heard a sound. It was soft, almost too quiet to notice. A scratching noise, like claws on metal. It came from somewhere above him, hidden in the shadows near the ceiling. Most people would have ignored it. Most people would have filed it under "not my problem" and kept walking. But Ethan had grown. Up on a ranch in Montana, and he had spent his childhood investigating every strange sound he heard. Barn cats, owls, once a family of raccoons living in the hayloft. He never could resist a mystery. He looked up at the stacked containers. They formed an unsteady staircase, boxes piled on top of boxes with gaps between them. It would not be safe to climb. The station had rules about this kind of thing. Ethan climbed anyway. He pulled himself up 1 level at a time, his boots finding holds on container edges and his fingers gripping whatever they could reach. The scratching sound stopped as he got closer, replaced by silence that felt heavy with fear. Near the ceiling, he found a hollow space. The cargo had been stacked carelessly, leaving a gap just big enough for something to hide inside. Ethan pulled himself up to the edge and looked in. His heart stopped, pressed into the far corner of the vase. Hiding space was a creature about the size of a large dog. It had scales that should have been bright and beautiful, but instead looked dull and gray. Wings pressed tight against its trembling body. A long tail curled around itself like it was trying to disappear. And its eyes, huge and amber-colored, stared at Ethan with pure terror. He knew what it was. Everyone in the galaxy knew what Kithrans looked like. They were one of the elder races, beings who had traveled the stars when humans were still figuring out fire. They looked like dragons from Earth legends, and they were treated like gods by most of the galaxy. They sat on councils. They commanded fleets. Their word was law in 100 systems, and their children were protected by entire armies. Yet here was one of those children, alone and afraid, hiding in a dusty storage sector of a mid-level commerce station. Ethan did not move. He had learned long ago that when you found a scared animal, the worst thing you could do was rush toward it. You had to be patient. You had to show that you were not a threat. "Hey there," he said softly. His voice was gentle, the same tone he used to use with nervous horses back home. "It is okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The little dragon hissed at him, but there was no real danger in the sound. It was all fear, no bite. A device on the creature's collar crackled to life. It was a translator, Ethan realized. A small machine that turned one language into another. "Go away, soft thing," the dragon said. The voice was young, childlike. And underneath the attempt to sound fierce, Ethan heard something that broke his heart. "Leave me alone." He did not leave. Instead, he sat down on the edge of the container, keeping a safe distance between them. He let his legs hang over the side and made himself small and unthreatening. "You have been up here for a while, have you not?" he asked. "I have been working in this sector for 3 days now. You must be getting hungry." Kithrins do not need. The little dragon stopped. Its stomach made a loud growling noise that sounded exactly like a hungry belly in any language. "I am fine." Ethan reached into his pocket slowly, making sure the dragon could see exactly what he was doing. He pulled out a protein bar, the same kind he ate for lunch every day. It was nothing special, just basic station food, but it was something. He placed it on the container between them and moved his hand away. "I am Ethan," he said. "What is your name?" The dragon stared at the protein bar like it might be a trap. Seconds passed, then minutes. Finally, a clawed hand shot out, grabbed the bar, and pulled it back into the shadows. "Vyra," the dragon said between bites. "I am called Vyra." "Nice to meet you, Vera." Ethan smiled, even though he knew the expression probably meant nothing to her. "Do you want to tell me why you are hiding in the ceiling of the most boring place in the galaxy?" The eating stopped. Those big amber eyes filled with something painful. "I cannot go back," Vyra said. "Back where?" "To my ship. To my family." Her wings pressed even tighter against her body. "I have brought shame upon my bloodline. I am not worthy of them anymore." Ethan felt something crack inside his chest. He recognized that voice. He recognized those words. He had said them himself once, a long time ago. "Vyra," he said gently, "how old are you?" 12 cycles. By human standards, she was barely more than a child. A scared, lonely child hiding in the dark because she believed no one wanted her. Anymore. Ethan settled himself more comfortably on the container. He was not going anywhere. "Okay," he said. "I am listening. Tell me what happened." Vyra did not speak for a long time. She finished the protein bar slowly, her amber eyes never leaving Ethan. He could tell she was deciding whether to trust him. He understood that feeling. Trust was hard when you felt broken inside. Finally, she began to talk. "There is a ceremony," she said. "All Kithrin children must complete it when they reach 12 cycles. It is called the Trial of First Words. We must stand before the assembly, before our entire lineage, and speak the sacred passages from memory. Every Kithrin has done this for thousands of years. It is how we prove our worth." Ethan nodded. He did not interrupt. He just listened. "I prepared for 2 years," Vera continued. Her voice was getting smaller, like she was shrinking into herself. "I memorized every word, every pause, every inflection. I practiced in my room until my throat hurt. I wanted so badly to make my parents proud. What happened?" Vera's whole body seemed to curl inward. "I forgot. I stood before the assembly, and everyone was watching, and I opened my mouth, and the words were gone. Just gone, like they had never been there at all. I stood there in silence while everyone waited. I could feel their disappointment. I could feel my parents' shame. And then I tried to speak, and the wrong words came out, and everyone knew. Everyone knew I had failed." Her voice cracked on the last word. Ethan felt his chest tighten. He knew that feeling. The moment when everything falls apart in front of everyone. The silence that follows. The looks on people's faces. "What did you do?" he asked softly. "I ran." Vera's tail curled tighter around herself. "Everyone was so shocked that no one stopped me. I ran to the cargo bay and hid inside a transport container. I did not know where it was going. I did not care. I just wanted to disappear. And you ended up here." "Yes," I've been hiding for 6 days now." She looked around at the dark, dusty space. "I thought if I stayed hidden long enough, they would stop looking. They would accept that I was gone and move on. It would be easier for everyone." Ethan took a deep breath. He had heard these words before. Not from someone else. From himself. "Vira," he said carefully, "can I tell you something?" She looked at him with those huge amber eyes. There was no hope in them, just exhaustion and pain. "I know exactly how you feel," Ethan said, "because I did the same thing when I was about your age." Her head tilted slightly. "You? But you are human. Your people have no sacred trials. No ancient traditions. No, but we have plenty of ways to feel like failures." He smiled sadly. "My family owns a ranch back on Earth. My father's family has worked that land for 4 generations. I was supposed to be the 5th. I was supposed to learn everything he knew and carry on the legacy. What happened? I was terrible at it." Ethan laughed, but there was no joy in the sound. "I could not rope. I could not ride well. I spent more time reading books than working with the animals. Every time my father looked at me, I could see the disappointment in his eyes. He never said anything. He did not have to. I just knew I was letting him down." Vira was watching him with new interest now. Her body had relaxed just slightly. "So one day, I ran away," Ethan continued. "I was 15 years old. I left a note that said I was sorry, and I hitched a ride to the nearest city. I thought everyone would be happier without me around, messing things up and embarrassing the family. What did you do in the city?" "I was miserable." Ethan met her eyes. "I was alone and scared and convinced that I was worthless. I slept in bad places and ate whatever I could find. I told myself it was better than going home and facing everyone. I told myself they did not want me anyway." Vera's voice was very small. "How long were you gone?" 3 weeks. And every single day, I thought about giving up completely. I thought about just letting myself disappear forever." He paused, making sure she understood what he meant. "But then someone found me." "Who?" "A teacher. Her name was Mrs. Patterson. She worked at a school near where I was hiding. She noticed me one day and started bringing me food. She did not ask questions at first. She just made sure I ate. And then one day, she sat down next to me and said something I have never forgotten." Vira leaned forward slightly. "What did she say?" Ethan spoke slowly, giving each word weight. "She said, 'The only person who gets to decide your worth is you. And you are not done becoming who you are going to be yet. So maybe wait before you decide the story is over.'" The hiding space was silent except for the distant hum of the station. "I did not believe her at first," Ethan admitted. "I thought she was just saying nice things. But she kept coming back. She kept talking to me. She kept treating me like I mattered, even though I was just some runaway kid who could not live up to his family's expectations. What happened then? She convinced me to call my parents. And when I did," Ethan's voice wavered slightly, "my father answered. And he was crying. I had never heard him cry before in my entire life. He had been searching for me every day since I left. He had not slept. He had not eaten properly. He just drove around looking for me, hoping I was still alive." Vera's eyes were wet now. She was crying, though Ethan suspected she did not know it. "He did not care about the ranch," Ethan said quietly. "He did not care about the legacy or the traditions or any of it. He just wanted his son back. That was all that mattered to him." "But the disappointment," Vira whispered. "I saw it. I felt it. I know. I thought I saw it too. But I was wrong." Ethan shifted slightly, moving a little closer without being threatening. "Sometimes when people love us, they put pressure on us without meaning to. And sometimes we feel their expectations so strongly that we think it is the same as them not wanting us. But it is not the same. Not even close. Vera's claws dug into the metal floor beneath her. My people are different. Kithrans do not forgive failure. The records keep track forever. My lineage will be marked by my shame for generations. Maybe, Ethan said. I do not know your people or your traditions. But I know one thing for certain. What? Your parents are looking for you right now. And they are terrified. And they would trade every tradition, every ceremony, every sacred passage for the chance to hold you again and tell you that you are enough. That you have always been enough. A sound escaped Vira that needed no translation. It was grief and hope and fear all mixed together. How do you know? She asked. Because that is what love does, Ethan said simply. In every species, in every corner of the galaxy. That is what love does. The hours passed slowly in that dark hiding space. Ethan did not leave. He sat on the edge of the container and talked with Vira, sharing more of his food and listening to everything she wanted to say. Sometimes she cried. Sometimes she got angry. Sometimes she just sat in silence, thinking about things he could not see. He learned that her father was a council member, one of the highest-ranking Kithrans in this sector of space. Her mother came from an even older bloodline, one that stretched back further than human civilization. The expectations placed on Vira had been enormous from the moment she hatched. They never said it directly, Vira explained. But I always knew. I had to be perfect. I had to honor the bloodline. I had to prove that I was worthy of my ancestors. That sounds exhausting, Ethan said. It was. It is. She picked at the wrapper from the protein bar, shredding it into tiny pieces. I used to dream about the trial of first words. Every night for the last year, I dreamed about standing before the assembly. Sometimes I spoke the words perfectly, and everyone cheered. But most nights, I forgot everything and woke up in a panic. Did you tell anyone about those dreams? No, Vira looked down. Kithrans do not speak about weakness. We are supposed to be strong. We are supposed to be above such things. Ethan shook his head. Everyone has fears. Everyone has doubts. Pretending they do not exist does not make them go away. It just makes you carry them alone. Humans think differently. Maybe. Or maybe humans just learned the hard way that hiding our fears only makes them stronger. He thought about his own childhood. All the nights he had spent staring at the ceiling and wondering if he would ever be good enough. On Earth, we have this saying, a problem shared is a problem halved. It means that when you tell someone what you are afraid of, it becomes less scary. Vira considered this. That seems foolish. Words cannot change reality. No, but they can change how you feel about reality. And sometimes that matters more. Ethan smiled. When I finally told someone how I felt, how scared I was of disappointing my family, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. The fear was still there, but I did not have to carry it alone anymore. I do not have anyone to tell. You have me. The words hung in the air between them. Vira stared at him like she was seeing him for the first time. Why do you care? She asked. I am nothing to you. We are not the same species. We will probably never see each other again after this. Why would you sit here for hours talking to a failed Kithran hatchling? Ethan thought about the question. It was a fair one. Because someone did the same for me, he said finally. Mrs. Patterson had no reason to help me. I was just some random kid hiding near her school. But she helped anyway. She gave me her time and her attention and her kindness, and it saved my life. He met Vera's eyes. I cannot pay her back. She died a few years ago, but I can pay it forward. I can be for someone else what she was for me, even if that someone is a dragon from another world. Especially then. Ethan grinned. Besides, This is the most interesting thing that has happened to me since I got to this station. Do you have any idea how boring it is scanning cargo containers all day?" Despite everything, Vira made a sound that might have been a laugh. It was small and weak, but it was there. "You are strange for a human," she said. "I have been told that before." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. The station hummed around them, the sounds of 1,000 machines working together to keep everything running. Somewhere out there, ships were arriving and departing. Beings from across the galaxy were going about their lives. And here, in this forgotten corner, a human and a dragon were learning to understand each other. "Can I ask you something?" Vira said eventually, "Of course. After you went home, after your father cried, and you knew he still wanted you, what happened? Did everything go back to normal?" Ethan shook his head slowly. "No, everything changed. But not in a bad way." He leaned back, remembering. "My father and I finally talked. Really talked, for the first time in years. I told him I did not want to run the ranch. I told him I wanted to travel, to see new places, to do something different with my life. And instead of being disappointed, he said he understood. He was not angry. He was sad at first. The ranch meant everything to him, and he wanted to share that with me. But he said that what he wanted more than anything was for me to be happy. He said he would rather have a son who was happy doing something else than a son who was miserable doing what he expected." Vera was quiet for a long moment. "That is very different from what I know." Maybe. But maybe your parents feel the same way, and you just never gave them the chance to show it." Ethan looked at her carefully. "You ran away right after the ceremony. You did not see what happened next. You do not know how they reacted when you were gone. I know they were ashamed. Do you? Or do you know they were surprised and confused and worried?" He shook his head. "Those are different things, Vira. Shock is not the same as shame. Worry is not the same as disappointment." Her claws scratched against the metal floor. "You were not there. You did not see their faces." "No, I was not. But I saw my own father's face when I came home. And it was not what I expected. Not even close." Ethan leaned forward. "I spent 3 weeks convinced that my family hated me, that they were relieved I was gone, that they had already moved on without me. And I was completely wrong. Every single thing I believed was wrong. How can you be so sure the same is true for me?" "I cannot be sure. But I know this. You will never find out if you stay hidden up here. You will spend the rest of your life wondering, and that wondering will eat you alive from the inside out." He spread his hands. "I am not saying it will be easy. Going back is terrifying. Facing the people you think you let down is the hardest thing in the world. But the alternative is worse. Trust me, the alternative is so much worse." Vera's whole body was trembling now, but it felt different than before. Less like fear, more like something building up inside her that needed to get out. "I do not know if I can do it," she whispered. "You do not have to decide right now," Ethan said gently. "I am not going anywhere. Take your time. Think about it. But remember this, you are 12 cycles old. Your whole life is ahead of you. One bad ceremony does not get to define who you are or who you become. Only you get to decide that." For the first time since he found her, something like hope flickered in Vera's amber eyes. "You really believe that?" "With everything I have." Vira did not make her decision quickly. She needed time, and Ethan gave it to her. He sat with her through the long hours, talking when she wanted to talk and staying quiet when she needed silence. He shared every piece of food he had. He told her stories about Earth, about Montana, about the ranch where he grew up. She listened to everything, asking questions about things she did not understand. "What is a horse?" she asked at one point. "An animal we ride on." 4 legs, big eyes, eats grass. Ethan smiled at the memory. They are beautiful creatures, strong and fast. My father loved them more than almost anything. You miss him? It was not a question. Ethan nodded. Every day. I do not regret leaving Earth to come out here. This is where I need to be right now. But I miss my family. I miss the smell of the ranch in the morning. I miss the way the sky looks at sunset when there are no buildings in the way. Why did you leave if you love it so much? Because I needed to find out who I was away from all of it. I needed to prove to myself that I could be something on my own. He laughed softly. My father actually supported that. After everything that happened, after I ran away and came back, we understood each other better. He told me to go see the galaxy. He said I could always come home when I was ready. Vira curled her tail around herself thoughtfully. Your people are very different from mine. Maybe not as different as you think. Love is love, everywhere you go. The way we show it might change, but the feeling underneath is the same. The station's lights shifted slightly, moving from the bright white of artificial day to the softer tones of artificial evening. Ethan had lost track of how long he had been sitting here. His back hurt. His legs were stiff. But he did not move. Ethan, Vira said quietly. Yes? If I go back, what do I say? How do I face them after what I did? He thought carefully before answering. This mattered. These words might be the most important ones he ever spoke. You tell them the truth, he said. You tell them you were scared. You tell them you thought they would be better off without you. You tell them you were sorry for running away. He paused. And then you let them respond. You give them the chance to show you who they really are. What if they are angry? They probably will be. Anger is part of fear, and they have been afraid for you. But anger fades. What matters is what comes after. Vira was shaking again. Her claws dug into the floor. Her wings rustled against her back. Everything about her screamed that she wanted to stay hidden, to remain in this dark, safe place where nothing could reach her. But her eyes told a different story. Her eyes said she was tired of being alone. I do not want to go back to who I was, she said. I do not want to pretend that nothing happened. Then do not. You are not the same person who failed that ceremony. You have been through something hard. You have learned things about yourself. Use that. Ethan met her gaze steadily. When I went home, I was not the same kid who ran away. I was someone who had seen what giving up felt like, and I knew I did not want that. It changed how I saw everything. Is that a good thing? It can be. It depends on what you do with it. Vira closed her eyes. For a long moment, she did not move or speak. Ethan watched her, wondering what was going through her mind, what memories and fears and hopes were battling inside her. When she opened her eyes again, something had changed. The fear was still there, but it was not alone anymore. Something else had joined it. Something that looked almost like determination. Okay, she said. Okay? I will go back. Her voice wavered but did not break. I do not know what will happen. I do not know if my parents will forgive me. But you are right. I cannot stay hidden forever. I cannot spend my whole life wondering. Ethan felt warmth spread through his chest. Pride, maybe, or relief, or something else he could not name. That is the bravest thing I have ever heard, he said. I do not feel brave. I feel terrified. Those are not opposites. He stood slowly, stretching muscles that had been still for too long. Brave does not mean you are not scared. Brave means you are scared, and you do it anyway. Vira uncurled herself from the corner of the hiding space. She was shaky on her feet, weak from days without proper food or water. But she was standing. Will you help me? She asked. I do not know how to contact my family from here. I have an intern access code. It is not much, but I can send a message through official channels. They will know where to find you." Ethan reached out his hand. "Come on. Let us get you down from here." Vira looked at his hand for a long moment. Then, slowly, she reached out and placed her claw in his palm. Her scales were cool against his skin. Her grip was weak but determined. "Thank you," she said. "For everything? Do not thank me yet. The hard part is still coming. I know." She squeezed his hand gently. "But at least I will not be alone for it." Together, they began the climb down from the hiding space. It was harder for Vera than it had been for Ethan. She had not moved much in 6 days, and her body was tired. But he helped her in every step, guiding her to stable footholds, catching her when she slipped. When they finally reached the floor of the storage sector, Vira looked around like she was seeing it for the first time. The rows of containers stretched out in every direction, dusty and forgotten. But now they did not look like a hiding place. They looked like a path. "Ready?" Ethan asked. Vira took a deep breath. Her wings spread slightly, then folded back against her body. "No," she admitted. "But I'm going to do it anyway." Ethan smiled. "That is exactly the right answer." Ethan used his intern terminal to send a message through the station's official communication system. He kept it simple and clear. A human intern had found a Kithran hatchling. Condition stable. Location Sector 7 Gray. He expected paperwork. He expected delays. He expected some board administrator to pass the message along to another board administrator. What he did not expect was what happened next. Within 10 minutes. Alarms started blaring across the entire station. Within 20 minutes, a Kithran warship dropped out of hyperspace so close to the station that the whole structure shook. Within 30 minutes, security teams were clearing the corridors around Sector 7 Gray. Vera stood beside Ethan, trembling. Her eyes were fixed on the main entrance to the storage sector, where the heavy doors were slowly opening. "They came fast," she whispered. "They've been looking for you for 6 days." Of course, they came fast. The doors finished opening, and 2 figures stepped through. They were Kithrans, adults, and they were the most impressive beings Ethan had ever seen. Their scales gleamed with colors that shifted in the light. Their wings were folded but still massive. They moved with the grace and power of creatures who had ruled the stars for longer than humans had existed. But all of that faded into nothing when they saw Vira, the male, who Ethan guessed was her father based on the matching patterns on their scales, froze completely. He just stopped, like someone had turned off a switch inside him. His great amber eyes, so similar to Vera's, filled with something that Ethan recognized immediately. Relief. Overwhelming, crushing relief. "Vira," the father said. His voice cracked on her name. This ancient being, this creature of power and authority, sounded like he was about to break into pieces. Vira pressed closer to Ethan. He could feel her shaking against his side. "I'm sorry," she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I failed the trial. I shamed the bloodline. She never finished the sentence. Her father crossed the distance between them in 2 massive strides. His wings swept forward and wrapped around her completely, pulling her into an embrace that hid her from the world. The mother joined them a moment later, and the 3 Kithrans became a single shape of scales and wings and sounds that Ethan had never heard before. They were crying, all 3 of them, making noises that needed no translation because grief and relief and love sounded the same in every language. Ethan stepped back quietly. This was not his moment. This belonged to them, but the father's head rose from the embrace. Those ancient eyes found Ethan and held him in place. "Human," the father said. "Yes, sir, you found her. I just heard a noise and went to look." Anyone would have done the same. No, the father's voice was firm. They would not. 6 days she was on this station. Thousands of beings passed through this sector. You are the only one who stopped. You are the only one who climbed up to find her. You are the only one who stayed. Ethan did not know what to say to that. The father gently released Vira, but kept one wing around her. The mother was stroking her daughter's head, making soft sounds that seemed to calm the trembling hatchling. What did you say to her? The father asked. She was ready to disappear forever. I know the signs. I have seen them before in others. What words did you use to bring her back? Ethan thought about the hours he had spent in that hiding space, the stories he had shared, the memories he had opened, the wisdom that Mrs. Patterson had given him so many years ago. I told her that failing a test does not decide her worth, he said carefully. I told her that she is not finished becoming who she will be. I told her that the people who love her care more about her than any tradition or ceremony. He paused. I told her what someone once told me when I needed to hear it most. The father stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, he lowered his great head in a bow. It was a gesture of respect, Ethan realized. A gesture that Kithrans reserved for equals or honored beings. Humans are new to the galaxy, the father said. Your species has no ancient wisdom, no traditions passed down for thousands of years. And yet, you spoke the words my daughter needed to hear when I could not reach her. He lifted his head. I will remember this. My lineage will remember this. Perhaps humans carry a different kind of wisdom, one that we elder races have forgotten. Ethan felt his face grow warm. I did not do anything special. I just talked to her. Sometimes that is the most special thing of all. Vira pulled away from her mother and looked at Ethan. Her eyes were red and wet, but there was something new in them. Something that had not been there before. Hope. Real hope. Thank you, she said. For finding me. Staying with me. For telling me it was okay to go back. Ethan smiled at her. Thank you for being brave enough to listen. Will I see you again? He did not know the answer to that question. The galaxy was vast, and they came from very different worlds. But he knew what to say. Maybe. The universe has a way of surprising us. But even if we do not meet again, remember what I told you. You get to decide who you are. No one else. Not your bloodline. Not your traditions. Not one bad day when you forgot some words. Just you. Vira nodded slowly. Then she did something that surprised him. She stepped forward and pressed her head against his chest in what he understood was a Kithran gesture of deep affection. I will remember, she whispered. I promise. Her parents watched this with expressions Ethan could not quite read. Then the father nodded once at him, a gesture of acknowledgement and thanks, and the three Kithrans turned to leave Dot at the door. Vira looked back one last time. She raised one clawed hand in a wave. Ethan waved back. Then they were gone. The storage sector fell silent again. The alarms stopped. The security teams departed. Everything returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. An hour later, Grot found Ethan sitting among the containers. Cole, what happened here? There are reports of Kithran warships, noble families, diplomatic incidents. What did you do? Ethan picked up his scanner and stood slowly. Just did my job, he said. Investigated a noise. Filed a report. Moved on. Grot stared at him for a long moment, clearly not believing a word. But the supervisor had no idea what to ask, so he eventually just shook his head and walked away. Ethan looked up at the gap in the containers, where a frightened little dragon had hidden from the world, where he had climbed without knowing why, where he had given away words that had once saved his own life. The galaxy was very big. It was full of ancient species with ancient wisdom. Beings who had traveled the stars for longer than humans had existed. And yet sometimes, the most important thing in the universe was not power or knowledge or tradition. Sometimes it was just being there, just listening, just speaking small, true words to someone who desperately needed to hear them. Ethan smiled to himself and went back to work. He had cargo to scan,